Hello everyone, very good afternoon to all the viewers of the Legal Game. This is Kushagra Goel, your educator for the CLAT examination. So, अब 22 दिसंबर की तारीख आज लास्ट डे है ऑफ द विंटर सेशन ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट. This month, majority of the headlines that have been generated and the current affairs related to it, especially legal current affairs, all of them have flown from the news that has come out from the union government and the discussion in the parliament house. We have talked about the bills that have been introduced. पहली बार 2 साल के अंदर private member bills have been allowed, standing committee meetings have taken place. So this was a very important session of the parliament. This was the one after the previous washout of the monsoon session under the garb of Pegasus. The Pegasus scandal, the government did not budge, and that led to, for this session, suspension of 12 opposition members. Ab, regarding the laws that have been passed and the laws that have been introduced, the procedure of the house, us sab se related this month we have done a Know Your Parliament series. So make sure आप वो playlist ज़रूर check out करिए. If you are someone who has not, please make sure that under my video links you do check it out. Okay, उससे related जो भी content है आप उसके notes ज़रूर बनाइए. Then we move on. अब इस महीने what all is left to be done. Majority of the focus of the month will now go towards revision. This is a lull time in the sense of the news. Okay, it will be Christmas and New Year. Majority of the other headlines are coming from what could be anticipated from the Omicron variant. Okay, so let's not waste a lot of time and dive into. But before I do that, I also want to inform all of you that in terms of the issues that have been on the high, which are the news from the parliament, there are certain Supreme Court cases that become very important. In that regard, we have started a new series of landmark constitutional law judgments. So yesterday we had done a discussion on the 2018 Aadhaar judgment, and today we will be focusing on the Shafeen Jahan case of the Supreme Court. This case of the Supreme Court talked about the rights of individuals and how they have the authority and the freedom to decide howsoever they want to, even if the same is not acceptable to the society. So this case is what we will be discussing in a special class on Unacademy's Learners app. This will go live at 9 PM. आप इसके लिए subscribe अभी कर सकते हैं in the link in the description box, so that you will get a notification the moment the class begins. So park the time on your calendar. It will be 9 PM and use the code KUSHGK to access this class for totally free of cost. भूलिएगा नहीं. All right. So with that, let's come back to the newspaper. The one big news was the introduction of the bill in the House, in the Lok Sabha, for increase of marriage age from 18 to 21 for girls, bringing it on par with male. For the longest time in our society, the presumption was that the male has to be older than the female in a marriage. And this norm had also been reinforced with the gap. A guy could get married only at 21, whereas the girl could get married earlier. Legislative method of reform, or so this is a legislative reform of practices of religion. Our constitution is unique in the sense that it allows the government the power to reform practices of the society. That if the rights of the people or their fundamental rights are being violated through any actions of the society, be it by religious practices or by societal practices, the state has the authority to make laws on such subjects. Therefore, In that regard, exercising that right, the union government has brought in the bill to increase the age to from 18 to 21. The first thing that it will do, it will bring in gender neutrality. It will bring gender neutrality and gender parity in terms of marriageability. This is hoped to lead to a eradication of what? Eradication of the mindset that a guy has to be older than the girl for a marriage. Now, the other aspect of it is in relation to the need. There are three things that the government has pointed out. One, a focus on higher nutritional level. Higher nutritional level of the child and of the mother. What this will do is, the fact that someone can get married at a later point of time now, they will also become mothers at a later point of time, which in meantime will allow them to overcome their nutritional deficiencies. The 3 additional years of your life can now be focused on yourself. The fact that you will are an adult to take your decisions, and you can also analyze and decide upon how you want to take up such decisions, whether you are ready for it. India suffers from high level of malnutrition, child stunting, female mortality rate and child mortality rate, which means that there is a deficiency of nutrition in terms of mothers and the child. The hope is that this will, an increase in marriageable age will allow for more investment on the nutrition side of the mothers and the children. The second aspect is, it will focus on higher participation in terms of education and jobs. India has a mere 18%, or if there is work, 18% of it only goes to women. The second problem that India has is a very low percentage of women participation in the economy. The hope is, abhi tak kya hota hai, the moment the girl becomes adult, they are only seen as a child rearing entity and not as a participant, especially on parity with men for economic benefits, or a tool or a wheel on the side to grow the economy. So it is to address this problem also that the government hopes that this will lead to that addition of 3 more years to get married is going to help you invest more on your human resources, on your human development, and this will raise awareness among the population at large also against getting married earlier. There have been multiple research that the higher your level of education, the higher is your awareness to get married late, or a propensity to get married later in life. This only comes when you have a high level of human development. So the hope of the government is that this will lead to a trickle down effect of this. The complication or the other side of it is societal acceptance. For the one of the biggest lesson of the farm bills and their repeal over a year has taught us that if the society does not accept a law, howsoever good intentioned it may be from the government, it cannot be implemented. If the people who are the recipients of such a law do not accept the law itself, then it is not going to be implemented. Governments cannot push through agenda through the parliament. You need wider acceptance of the idea, and therefore the risk is that this, if there is no societal acceptance, it is only going to lead to higher child marriages. That if the society doesn't change, the marriageable age, a change in marriageable age is only going to increase the number of child marriages in the country. This is the fear that the government is now risking upon and has been highlighted by the opposition. The other part of the story is also the efficacy of such a move. A person who is of 18 years of age, as Asauddin Owaisi also pointed out, is a person who can now take a decision to vote, can also enter into sexual relationships or live-in relationships, which have now been recognized by different courts. So if you are eligible to do that, why not provide you with the protection of the institution of marriage? Marriage is in itself not just a societal concept, it is a legal concept. It creates protections against abuse. When a lot of you who are watching will be studying criminal law, you will come across cases where people on the ground or a future promise of marriage enter into relationships, sexual relationships, and then back out from it. This is what is an abuse of the women. The reason they enter into such relationship is to ensure that they are or eventually going to be part of the institution of marriage. So marriage itself is a protected environment also. There are a lot of rights that flow to right of maintenance, alumni, then security that come in a marriage, which is not present in a relationship that is not recognized or is a live-in relationship. It has no statutory backing. So marriage as an institution, now that women will get married later, they run the risk of being abused in such systems. The ground is that if everyone has to be brought on gender parity, why not bring down the age for male also to 18 instead of going the other way? So this is the other side of the story. Now what has the government done? The bill will be identified by a standing committee of the parliament. That is, opposition members will also be part of the panel. These will be closed door discussions where the bill will be debated. What will the bill be? The bill will be about amendment to the Indian Christian Marriage Act of 1972, the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936, the Muslim Personal Shariat Application Law of 1937, the Special Marriage Act of 1954, the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955 and the Foreign Marriage Act of 1956. क्या आपको ये सारे कानून याद रखने हैं? नहीं, ठीक है? You will not be asked a family law question, so you don't have to remember all of them. All right? So with this, we move on to the news on the right hand side. Rajya Sabha passes electoral reform bill amid opposition protest. The protest by the opposition was on the grounds of, yesterday we had discussed on a detailed discussion about the linking of Aadhaar with electoral rolls. That now your EPIC card or EPIC, electoral photo identity card, can be linked with the Aadhaar. Plus the two other changes that have been brought in is the registration of the user. That now a voter can register themselves 4 times through the year. First is January, 1st April, 1st July and 1st October. This will ensure that more and more people are able to participate in elections at different point of time. Until now, people who became adults by 2nd January onwards, they had to wait an entire year to become voters. By that time, they would have missed the elections that could take place in their area. So this bill was passed within the same day based on the rush that the government with which it brought in the bill created protest. Now the protests have a numerical logic also. Rajya Sabha's total membership is 250. Out of this, 11 seats are empty, so there is a number of 239. Okay, the halfway mark with 250 to pass any bill is 125. With this, the halfway mark was 140. All right, this with suspension of the MPs, the halfway mark became 114 in the House. How many MPs were suspended? 239 minus 13 opposition MPs, because Derek O'Brien, another opposition MP from the Rajya Sabha of the TMC, was also suspended. So this led to the shifting of the halfway mark to 114. 114 is the exact number of members of the NDA. Had the bill, because the bill was being opposed by almost everyone, it would not have passed in the Rajya Sabha. But by suspending the opposition members, the government was able to pass this bill without a requirement of the vote, because the treasury benches now have a majority. So with this, the number of members after the suspension was, for the government 114 and for the opposition 113. So the ruckus in the House was that you are passing it while you do not have majority. You have created a manufactured majority in the House. Okay. Now for us, the rule number under which the bills have been passed or members have been suspended is for rule number 256, which is unruly behavior of the members against the chair and not following the overall decorum and respect of the House and demeaning the House in general by your behavior. By that rule, members can be suspended for the entirety of the present session. The opposition had been protesting because these 12 MPs have been suspended for the winter session for events that happened in the monsoon session. So if that rule is applied, they could have only been suspended for the monsoon session and not for the winter session. But the government has brought in this to suspend the opposition MPs for the winter session for events of the monsoon session, and Derek O'Brien has been suspended for the winter session. So those 12 MPs which had been protesting was for this logic, that how can you suspend if the rule is, and these are people's representatives and they are equals, all of them, government and opposition, all of them are equal members. Just by a party being in majority does not mean that the rights of the minority voters or those who are in the House have been totally done away with. They are still members of the House with equal powers. So to suspend them based on your majority is what the opposition had been crying as a misuse of the power. Alright, and the bills have now been passed. They will now await presidential assent for creation as a law in the country. Okay, so this is to understand what the controversy all this is about. Then on the right hand side is the news related to another protest. This is regarding the delimitation plan. Yesterday in December 21 newspaper analysis, we had discussed why this protest is happening. Okay, the logic is that until now the ratio with 87 members was 1 MLA for each 1.45 lakh voters. Okay, the delimitation panel has increased the size of the assembly, but the ratio in Jammu has been bettered with 1 MLA for all 1.25 lakh voters. 1 MLA for every 1,25,000 voters. The total population of the Jammu region is approximately 54 lakhs, whereas the population of the Kashmir region is 68 lakh. Okay, so their ratio has been maintained the same, whereas the ratio of Jammu has been bettered. What this means is that 1 MLA or a vote in Kashmir has less value than a vote in Jammu region, or a voter in Jammu has more power than a voter in Kashmir Valley. Alright, so there are two different valleys, and this is what the issue is all about. Okay. The delimitation panel is a regular exercise to redraw the boundaries of assemblies. After the creation of union territories, it was decided only Jammu and Kashmir will have assembly, and the seats from the Ladakh region were to be brought back within the assembly for Jammu and Kashmir. Therefore, the increase of 6 seats in Jammu, but the total majority of the houses been remained at 90. Okay, so this is what the crux of the problem is all about. Then we move on. The government has confirmed that there is no definition of the word anti-national. That who is an anti-national, we keep using this word very casually, that you're an anti-national person, you're an anti-national, that there is no specific definition of who is a anti-national in the country. There is no such a law. Okay. Then we move on to the national news. So in terms of this, the protest by the resident doctor have been carrying on against the delay in appointment regarding the PG admissions in NEET. Why is the delay happening? The delay has been happening because of the EWS quota is before the Supreme Court. The court has asked the government to tell how is the criteria of EWS, which is 8 lakh rupees per annum. Okay, how is this justified? How did you get on this data? Because this 8 lakh criteria includes certain people and excludes others. Every time you make a criterion that is a exception to Article 14 of the Constitution, you need to give logical reason for the same. There has to be an aim, and that aim has to be proportionate. If that aim is not proportionate, then that kind of restriction is invalid. So if the government is unable to justify its 8 lakh criteria, then because of this the counselling is being delayed as of now. The reason for protest of the doctors is the fact, as long as the criteria remains the same and they are not promoted, the counselling doesn't happen, they are working at a lower grade despite now their time being of promotion. So they are receiving less payment and they are suffering. Their overall education in time is also suffering because the counselling is being delayed. Then we move on once again about the lack of empirical data. So while the court is also examining EWS quota, it has shot down the OBC quota provided in the municipal elections of Maharashtra, again for the lack of empirical data to justify the same, that OBCs deserve, let's say, 10% of seats, and within that 5% should go to A community. To state such a thing, you are taking away this 5% seat from all the others who are included within the 10%. This 10% is taking away the rights of the other who are within the non-reserved category or the 90%. So if you want to take away the right of anyone, you have to have data for the same. This is what the court has held in multiple cases, and therefore the reservation and reservation within reservations have been shot down or cancelled by the Supreme Court for the want of empirical data to support their claim. Then we move on to the editorial section. So before we do that, Karnataka, amid protest, bill tabled in Karnataka House. This is the anti-conversion bill. It is to understand this anti-conversion and what it prevents, we will be discussing the Shafeen Jahan case. This law has been brought in because there is a presumption that a lot of conversions from Hinduism are happening to Christianity, which are forced conversion. That is, consent of the people is absent from those conversions, or they are being fraudulently converted. So to identify and ensure that such a thing is not happening, or if it happens it is not declared valid, this law is being brought in. The case of Shafeen Jahan versus Ashokan KM is the landmark judgment to determine what is correct, what is coercive, and what is a consensual conversion, and who all have the right to do the same. So we will be discussing that today at 9 p.m. So don't forget to participate in that special class. Then we move on to the editorial section. The main editorial is about political identities, about left versus right, and what the right-wing parties are doing, why they want to impose symbolic knowledge, all of that. Not relevant for us, so you can avoid it unless you are a political interest in politics. Then think before linking. This is the editorial related to the apprehensions regarding the Aadhaar bill. Okay, so this editorial talks about the benefits and what will be happening. So one thing, that the benefit that we had discussed, the 4 qualifying dates for revision will help in faster enrollment of those who turn 18. But and on the face of it, the editorial states the bill's objective to purify rolls and weed out bogus voters may appear laudable, and the seeding of Aadhaar data with voter identity card may seem a good way of achieving it. However, different countries have over time been arguing against one database, one meta database as the clear one. Okay, the first criticism is that what was the hurry? If it is such an important thing, why didn't you let the House discuss it? Why did you bring it and pass it in 2 hours? Why couldn't you discuss it for a longer? This raises suspicion. Then second, that some electors may be registered more than one constituency, and that non-citizens may have been enrolled, but this can be adequately addressed by other identification process, because Aadhaar database may be irrelevant to verify identity because it is an identifier of residents and not citizens. If you believe that illegal immigrants have become voters, then Aadhaar is not the way to remove them, because Aadhaar is given to all residents of India. But voting is only available to citizens. So Aadhaar cannot be the one that does it. The second is that did the court satisfy the test laid down for Aadhaar, which is the 3-part test. Yesterday in a special class, I discussed the 3-part test with the students at the Unacademy Learner app. We discussed in depth what this 3-part test is. The 3-part test is the permissible standard for interference with the right to privacy of a person. Okay, so in that regard, all 3 of them have to be individually established for any concern to be taken into place. Okay, the choice in this regard, then the editorial points out, is you have to have a sufficient cause, and a sufficient cause which will be separately prescribed. That Aadhaar requirement is said to be voluntary in practice, but in practice can be made mandatory. The bill says the election registered officer may require the submission of Aadhaar both for new enrollment and those already enrolled. The choice not to submit is linked to a sufficient cause. कि आपके पास एक reason होना चाहिए कि आप इसको क्यों link नहीं करना चाहते. Using this can be a way to actually ensure that everyone enrolls. And unless there is a proper data protection, this database of linking of voter with Aadhaar can be done to create profiling of the voters. So this is why the editorial calls thinking before linking, that unless you have the protections in place, you should not do it. Then on the left hand side is the second news related to sacrilege. This is or बेअदबी of the living Guru, that is the Guru Granth Sahib. Punjab has the highest number of registered cases of sacrilege events, but there are two disturbing events that have happened. That two attempts of sacrilege were foiled, but those two individuals were hacked to death by the people who were there. Now, the criticism of act of sacrilege has been identified, but no one has criticized the mob culture, that how can people take the law in their own hand. One of the reasons on which this public action is being justified is the lack of severe punishment for the acts of sacrilege. The fact that for so many years these amendments, that is the amendment towards section 295A of the IPC, which punishes the aggravated form of insult to religion, which when it is perpetrated with deliberate malicious intent of outraging religious feelings. Now this law only provides for punishment up to 2 years, which members of the community believe are too little. And also the exception of the law of how to escape this even 2 years of imprisonment is an act of insanity. That if you are insane or you plead the defense of insane, you can skip liability under the law. Okay, so under this in 2018 amendments were put in that this should lead to up to life imprisonment, but that has not yet been done. Okay, which is, and especially now the fact that the elections are around the corner, it has become a very sensitive area, but caution needs to be identified. And had those two people been caught, if there is conspiracy behind creation of communal tension, that could have been identified. So this is the step that should be taken. Then the second editorial here talks about the horrendous act of begar or bonded labor. Okay, begar or bonded labor is when you evergreen or pass on such money with such high interest rate that you know that the other party will never be able to pay it back. Through this, you can control their generations and generations to come and hold them as your permanent employee. In regard to protect it, this was the law till now, was that an employer in advance cannot give more than 2 months wage in advance. एक एम्प्लॉय को उसकी साल भर के 12 महीनों में से 2 महीने से ज़्यादा की इनकम एडवांस में नहीं दी जा सकती. दिस एडिटोरियल इज अ क्रिटिसिज्म दैट द न्यू लेबर कोड बिल which were brought in 2019, the code on wages in 2019 removes this protection. Now, one, the employer can advance any amount of money, and second, can recover his money as he deems correct, which could legalize bonded labor. The fact that I have paid this person and he has not repaid me back can create a way to ensure a legalization of bonded labor. How is it happening? It is in relation to Rule 21 of the minimum wages rules, spelled out certain deductions permissible of the wages. Deductions or recovery of advances or adjustment over payment of wages, provided that such advance do not exceed an amount equal to 2 calendar months of employed person. Okay. And each next month the deduction cannot be more than 1/4. Now the word that is used is advances of whatever nature or conveyance and interest due in respect thereof, or the adjustment of overpayment of wages. So now you can take n number of advance from your employer and he can deduct n number of your future salaries in return of the payment. Okay, so this is the reason. The risk is that these were protections granted to laborers based on what had been happening over the past 200 years of capitalism and some 14-15 years of slavery. So these laws were created to provide protection to laborers. Now these, if they are done away with, it could again lead to a legalization of bonded labor, because the percentage of employers is very limited and the workers are too high. And in India, because we have high inequality, everyone fears getting out of job. No one will risk being unemployed for long, and if that means working for less in the current, they will be forced to do it. Okay, this fear is what ensures the bonded labor never comes out and informs the public that this is happening to them. Okay, then we move on. The stemming the onslaught of Omicron. This is a call that we should vaccinate everyone at the fastest, but the reality is something different. The data point points out that overall every state of India except Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Meghalaya and Dadar and Nagar Haveli have been reducing their rate of vaccination. The graph shows that the overall rate of vaccination is plummeting. From the lowest in recent times, it has been going down and down. We have not yet vaccinated the majority population with 2 doses. And the news is coming that we will now need booster doses to ensure protection against the Omicron variant. So this editorial is that we have to do 2 things. One, vaccinate everyone urgently, provide people with booster doses of those at risk, and ensure children also get vaccinated, so that by the time they come into or become adults, they have protection against the virus also. Then on the right hand side is the new president of Chile. Chile is a country that has had a high per capita income based on its exports of copper. But in the recent times, the country has been facing high level of inequality. Why is high level of inequality happening? Because of over reliance on exports. Venezuela is another country which had high level of income, but their over reliance on one commodity led to the downfall of the economy. The moment petrol prices had crashed in Venezuela, the economy crashed. Similar event had been happening with Chile, which had sprung protests of widespread nature in 2019. And who was at the forefront of this protest? Children. So when Gabriel Boric, who now is the youngest president of Chile at the age of 35, he began his speech by stating that I know and I must thank the children, including school-going children, for my election, because they were the one who were at the forefront. What was the spark that had been happening? The rising inequality. Over time, the country had been moving towards more and more privatization. As the country moved towards more and more privatization under a general backed by the USA, okay, of Augusto Pinochet, US backed General Augusto Pinochet, he had been selling off the country assets to private sector. Now the problem with private sector is that it is motivated with profits. So as long as the economy is doing well, people will be able to pay the private sector. The moment you start doing badly, the squeeze of private sector starts happening. As that squeeze started happening, essential services became more and more expensive. If essential services become expensive, then people go down in the ladder of income and wealth, and increases the inequality in the society. The purpose then, so the protests were to reduce this income gap and retain the dignity. Therefore, the name of the coalition of Mr. Boric is also known as Approved Dignity, that you are voting for restoration of your dignity. But now he faces the oligarchs, similar to that in Russia and in other countries. The moment the people have elected a leader and he has to hurt the rich, you have to have strong policies and the rich will try to hold you back. This is why so raising tax rates sounds a very easy aspect but is very difficult to actually implement. This is the challenge that he now faces with the economy of Chile, that he has to raise taxes, ensure that over reliance on exports of copper is reduced, create more sustainable level of income generation in the economy while keeping prices in check. The moment you raise taxes, price of essential services will rise. So you have to balance it out, and therefore he in his speech had talked about fiscal responsibility, that we will do it but we will do it responsibly. This is also a turn in different countries towards back to which have seen the wrath of capitalism in Latin America, going back to the ways of or a more modified version of capitalism, that pure privatization and liberalization does not work. It only increases more and more inequality in the society. Then the second one is deeply insecure union territory. Protests have sprung up in Ladakh for a demand of the union territory being declared a state, because after 2019 amendment and revocation of the Article 370, Ladakh lost three things. Ladakh was till now being governed by its autonomous hill councils of Leh and Kargil, plus the MLAs from Ladakh region, and thirdly, the protections of land laws given under Article 35A of the Constitution. Plus with Article 370, there was a lot of autonomy granted to Ladakh also. The moment these laws were gone, basically any and everyone from part of India can go and purchase property. This area is thinly populated with tribal population. So now they are vulnerable to land grabs by the rich. They are definitely not the richest people of the country, but they hold their land very much dear to them. So now there is a risk of this. Secondly, they have nowhere to reach out. Till now the government was a responsible government, but now the moment there is a lieutenant governor in office, he or she is accountable to only New Delhi or the government in Delhi. What this does is he is less inclined to do work for the people and is more inclined to remain in jobs so that and please his bosses in New Delhi. This has been the longest complaint of different union territories across the country, that jahan bhi union territory hoti hai, the overall development of the people suffers because the lieutenant governor is mostly focused on the work to please the bosses in New Delhi. So Ladakh has now sprung for demand for the statehood, which is the editorial. So this is an important one that needs to be noted down. It is to ensure protection of their land rights and work towards protection and enhancement of democratic rights of the people. Because the fact that now there is no assembly also in the Union Territory of Ladakh, it has no democratic process to work towards, or no accountable government with any powers to make any change for the people. Then we move on. Prime Minister's intervention sought to secure release of arrested fishermen. This is the longest issue related to between Sri Lanka and India. We will talk about it on the page of text and context. Then we move on, more political news. Then is an important news. Harsh Shringla, who is our foreign secretary, is flying to Naypyidaw and Yangon. This is being seen as a visit to ensure relationship of India with Myanmar and a tacit approval of the coup of February 1. And the fact that it comes 2 weeks after the punishment of Aung San Suu Kyi for arrest for 2 years has been confirmed. This is seen that India is tacitly approving the rule of military because of its self-interest in the region and to avoid the region becoming closer and closer to China as ASEAN isolates the country. ASEAN in the recent China ASEAN summit blocked Myanmar from even speaking and just General Hawling from attending. Whereas Harsh Shringla, he will be attending a meeting with with the general himself, who has now declared himself the prime minister of the country. So this is to reduce the nexus of China in Myanmar and also to keep the focus of development projects that India is undertaking in the northeast and to tackle the insurgency in the region. It needs the assistance of Myanmar and its military. So this is a tacit visit and approval of the rule of military. Government refuses bill scrutiny. This is in relation to Aadhaar linking. This is the database of roll call mismatch. Vis-a-vis the total population, only 5 states have less number of Aadhaar card in comparison to the total population. Majority of the states, these states, the number of Aadhaar card issued for adults, number of electors, there were 30 lakh more Aadhaar cards issued for adults in Kerala than the electors. So this is for the state of Kerala. Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, MP, Himachal Pradesh, and even Gujarat, Uttarakhand and West Bengal. These are the states that have higher number of Aadhaar cards because Aadhaar is given to residents. So if you are a worker or if you are traveling to India, working there and not a citizen, so the number of people who have voter IDs, now there could be a higher number of voters in this area who may not have been voters till now but can vote. But now the challenge is to identify if they are corrective options or if they are not double voters. They may be a worker from Bihar who has worked now in Rajasthan, has migrated here, has a voter ID of Bihar but an Aadhaar card of Rajasthan. Okay, so this mismatch is what now needs to be corrected while ensuring that there is no duplication happening. Then we come, center calls for curbs to combat Omicron. Maharashtra, Delhi report highest number of cases at 54. So the Omicron variant is identified in India and is increasing. So the government has stated bring in night curfew, avoid big congregations, ensure that there is crowd separation happening. Then on the right hand side is Covishield effect wanes after 3 months, that there is a need for booster doses for protection against the variant. Okay, then we move to the international news. Joe Biden, as the government in USA and countries battle the Omicron variant upsurge, different testing facility has been increased and countries are trying to avoid a lockdown and ensure booster doses to avoid severe infections in the population. So this is in regard to that. And then the tussle for diplomacy or diplomatic victory with regard to Xinjiang province are carrying on. That now China has also slapped sanctions on US government officials over Xinjiang, that you cannot come to my country, I will not let you come into my country, okay, until and unless you take action. So these are two important news against the Omicron variant. You don't have to really read them, okay, this is the crux of these news. Then we move on. Taliban allow protest calling for aid. So the government that usually does not allow any protest allowed 200 Afghans to march through Kabul for the demand of release of the foreign assets. Foreign assets of the government of Afghanistan had been frozen in Western banks because Taliban is not a recognized government. Governments have been telling Taliban, make a more representative government, include different factions, include more women, ensure rights of minorities. Unless that is done, we will not release your money. While this money is not released, people will suffer, okay, but they believe if they release this money, this will be used for terrorism, suppression of minorities, and we do not want that. Now, to reduce the tensions at the Ukrainian border, NATO will have meaningful talks with Russia in the month of January. So Christmas time, they are on holiday, so they don't want to talk. But all of this is the conflict at Belarusian border. Then we move on. Digitization may push to see IT firms log 9 to 12% dollar revenue growth. This is in general how the IT sector is pushing every other sector away. Okay, then we move on. The sporting side, India's test series with South Africa begins on 26th, so this conversation is all about that. Then we come to the text and context. This is the project in Kerala about the K Rail Silver Line project. This is a rail line that will pass, which has been by the state government proposed to pass through 13 out of the 18 districts of Kerala. It will increase transportation speed of railways. However, the BJP and Congress have been opposing it, stating that this cost of this project is too high. We can actually increase the railway speed by having more lines of the same type, reducing congestion, and this will be more in line with the ecological balance. The amount of disturbance that we will have to do for this project outweighs the harms of environmental damage in future or an environmental catastrophe. Then the second one, Ude Desh Ke Aam Nagrik, was a scheme launched by the Prime Minister to provide subsidized flights for short distances. This scheme, majority of it, as per the response of the government in the House, majority of the services that were launched or licenses issued have now been cut short or are inoperational because of want of financial capability, or these are not financially feasible anymore to run. So for example, the much pictured where the Prime Minister launched a seaplane from Statue of Unity, that has also not been flying since April because of COVID restrictions. Similarly, there are others which are financially inviable in Odisha, where plane cost or the cost of manpower is so high. So those are the problems. We only need to remember the Udan scheme, which is Ude Desh Ke Aam Nagrik. Then is the festering crisis in the Pak Strait. What is this about? This is related to the 1976 agreement on the water between Sri Lanka and the Indian peninsula. That this resources beyond this is Sri Lankans, resources beyond here is Indians. Okay. The other problem of is not just of fishermen entering into waters of each other. The problem is that Indian boats used motorized trawling. Motorized trawling, what it does, okay, Sri Lankan fishermen use artificial nets which float above the surface. They remain here and they capture the fish here. Motorized trawlers collect everything from here to here and then throw away those in the bottom, because you need fishes only at the top layer. What motorized trawling does is spoils the entire bottom surface of the sea. This is what Sri Lanka has a problem with. They are like, by using these motorized trawlers, you are spoiling the entire ocean region. And this is why we have to prevent you from entering at any cost. Because if you spoil the bottom surface, the resources at the top will also start reducing. Okay? So in nature, every problem is related to another problem. You cannot look at problems in isolation. So there have been two big suggestions that Indian fishermen in Tamil Nadu should be subsidized to move away from motorized trawling to the same mechanism as the Sri Lankan fishermen. Their argument is that motorized trawling is cheaper, we have already invested so much in these boats, and they require much more effort. Unless and until the cost that we have invested and the profits that we maintain can be at the same level, we have no incentive to indulge in this. Okay, because a fisherman only sees the catch of the day, not of 10 years later when there will be no fish. He is only focused on this. So this long-term harm vis-a-vis short-term gain is the conflict in the Pak Strait, which is at the bottom of India Sri Lanka. ठीक है, this is related to 1976 agreement where they had finally agreed that this is the water territory of fishing zones between the two countries. So with this we conclude the analysis of December 22. Once again a reminder, if you seek notes of the newspaper or everything, log in to the link https://bit.ly/kusgk notes. And if you want to connect with me and be updated about the classes in future, make sure that you subscribe to and join my Telegram channel, that is Kushagra Goel the Legal Game _Unacademy. And if you are someone who is completely unaware of what special classes of Unacademy are, Unacademy special classes are interactive classes in the sense that you can participate in these classes without or just waiting for the teacher to actually respond. You can verbally ask questions here, plus the benefit is that you get constant notification and reminders about, so that you don't miss your classes. On YouTube's mechanism is very faulty. Sometimes it does send you notification, sometimes it does not send you notification. Here you will be notified about when your class begins. The lecture notes of classes will be immediately available for download, and you can watch these classes n number of times anywhere. But if you are looking for a more dedicated time for your preparation of the examination, now that the exam is very close around the corner, you should subscribe to Unacademy's Plus subscription. Here you will study with students who are preparing for the same by expert educators who will teach you the entire syllabus. You can use my code KUSSGK for an additional 10% discount. Plus, from January onwards, I am beginning a series that will cover your entire syllabus of the GK within 3 months. So make sure that you take subscriptions of the Plus, and if you are looking for a batch to study all the syllabus, then you can subscribe to our batches, which will also allow you access to weekly test, which is a 20-minute test on a daily basis, and the Unacademy Law Aptitude test, which is a half CLAT test. This will happen. So the batch for CLAT 2024 is beginning on 5th January, which is known as Law and Order. If you are someone who is already a BA graduate and is now looking to study at DU, then you can prepare for the DU LLB entrance exam in a 3-month course. Then there is a legal fix for 2023 aspirants, which will be a 1-year batch, and emerge batch for CLAT 2022 aspirants. This is a 6-month batch. Ensure it begins today on December 22nd. On that note, I will take your leave. Thank you so much, all of you. If you like this analysis, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to it. Thank you all. See you all tomorrow.